Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Genesis chapter 31. Let's go inside the chapter. Jacob leaves secretly from Canaan. Now Jacob heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and from what belonged to our father he has made all this wealth. Jacob saw the attitude of Laban, and behold, it was not friendly towards him as formerly. Then the Lord said to Jacob, return to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I will be with you. So Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to his flock in the field, and said to them, I see your father's attitude, that it's not friendly toward me as formerly, but the God of my father has been with me. You know that I have served your father with all my strength, yet your father has cheated me and changed my wages 10 times. However, God did not allow him to hurt me. If he spoke thus, the speckled shall be your wages, then all the flock brought forth speckled, and if he spoke thus, the stripe shall be your wages, then all the flock brought forth stripe. Thus God has taken away your father's livestock and given them to me. And it came about at the time when the flock were mating that I lifted up my eyes and saw in a dream, and behold, the male goats which were mating were striped, speckled, and mottled. Then the angel of God said to me in a dream, Jacob, and I said, here I am. He said, lift up your eyes and see that all the male goats which are mating are striped, speckled, and mottled. For I have seen all that Laban has been doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar, where you made a vow to me. Now arise, leave this land and return to the land of your birth. Rachel and Leah said to him, do we still have any portion or inheritance in our father's house? Are we not reckoned by him as foreigners? For he has sold us and has also entirely consumed our purchase price. Surely all the wealth which God has taken away from our father belongs to us and our children. Now then, do whatever God has said to you. Then Jacob arose and put his children and his wives upon camels, and he drove away all his livestock and all his property which he had gathered, his acquired livestock which he had gathered in Padan-aram, to go into the land of Canaan to his father Isaac. When Laban had gone to shear his flock, then Rachel stole the household idols that were her father. And Jacob deceived Laban the Aramean by not telling him that he was fleeing. So he fled with all that he had, and he arose and crossed the Euphrates and sent his face towards the hill country of Gilead. Laban pursues Jacob. When it was told Laban on the third day that Jacob had fled, then he took his kinsmen with him and pursued him a distance of 7 days' journey. And he overtook them in the hill country of Gilead. God came to Laban the Aramean in a dream of the night and said to him, be careful that you do not speak to Jacob, either good or bad. Laban caught up with Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the hill country, and Laban with his kinsmen camped in the hill country of Gilead. Then Laban said to Jacob, what have you done by deceiving me and carrying away my daughters like captives of the sword? Why did you flee secretly and deceive me, and did not tell me, so that I might send you away with joy and with songs, with timbrel and with lyre, and did not allow me to kiss my sons and daughters? Now you have done foolishly. It is in my power to do you harm, but the God of your fathers spoke to me last night, saying, be careful, do not speak either good or bad to Jacob. Now you have indeed gone away because you longed greatly for your father's house. But why did you steal my gods? Then Jacob replied to Laban, because I was afraid, for I thought that you would take your daughters from me by force. The one with whom you find your gods shall not live. In the presence of our kingsmen, point out what is yours among my belongings and take it for yourself. For Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. So Laban went into Jacob's tent and into Leah's tent, into the tent of the two maids, but he did not find them. Then he went out of Leah's tent and entered Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the household idols and had put them in the camel's saddle, and she sat on them. And Laban felt through all the tent and did not find them. She said to her father, "Let not my lord be angry, that I cannot rise before you, for the manner of woman is upon me." So he searched, but did not find the household idol. And this is another one of those sections where you see a breakdown inside of here where there's references to other verses that relate to where we're at. It's just another good tool that's inside of a study Bible. Back to the chapter. Then Jacob became angry and contended with Laban, and Jacob said to Laban, "What is my transgression? What is my sin that you have hotly pursued me? Though you have felt through all my goods, what have you found of all your household goods? Set it here before my kinsmen and your kinsmen, that they may decide between us two. These 20 years I have been with you. Your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried, nor have I eaten the rams of your flock. That which was torn of beast I did not bring to you. I bore the loss of it myself. You required it of my hand, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was. By day the heat consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep fled from my eyes. These 20 years I have been in your house. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters and 6 years for your flock, and you changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac have not been for me, surely now you would have sent me away empty-handed. God has seen my affliction and the toil of my hands, so he rendered judgment last night." The covenant of Mizpah. Then Laban replied to Jacob, "The daughters of my daughters and the children of my children and the flocks are my flocks, and all that you see is mine. But what can I do this day to these my daughters and to their children whom they have borne? So now come, let us make a covenant, you and I, and let it be witness between you and me." Then Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar. Jacob said to his kinsmen, "Gather stones." So they took stones and made a heap, and they ate there by the heap. Now Laban called it Jegar-Shahduth, but Jacob called it Gilead. Laban said, "This heap is a witness between you and me this day." Therefore it was named Gilead. And Mizpah was for he said, "May the Lord watch between you and me when we are absent from one another. If you mistreat my daughters, or if you take wives besides my daughters, although no man is with us, see, God is witness between you and me." Laban said to Jacob, "Behold this heap, and behold the pillar which I have set between you and me. This heap is a witness, and the pillar is a witness, that I will not pass by this heap to you for harm, and you will not pass by this heap and this pillar to me for harm. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor and the God of their father judge between us." So Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered a sacrifice on the mountain and called his kinsmen to the meal. And they ate the meal and spent the night on the mountain. Early in the morning Laban arose and kissed his sons and his daughters and blessed them. Then Laban departed and returned to his place. And that's the end of chapter 31. Okay, let's go inside the text. So here we are, and Jacob has been at Laban's for 20 years. He did 7 years for Rachel, then he was tricked and was given the oldest daughter. And so he did another 7 years, and then he did 6 years for the flock, all by request. And we see here at the beginning where he's talking about return to the land, because he was wanting to return back to the land of his father. It said, when Jacob sought to leave at the end of his contract, God's timing was not right. Now it was, so God directed Jacob's departure, and in confirmation assured him of his presence. So after another 6 years, it was time to go. Okay. It said he was called his wives and them into the field. It says here that it was in the privacy of the open field. Jacob plans could be confidentially shared between him and his wives. Your father and my father. A contrast, perhaps not intentional, but nevertheless noticeable, since their father signaled rejection towards him, whereas the God of his father had accepted him. Through 6 through 9, it was referring, it says that Jacob explained it. His unstinting service to their father had been met by Laban with wage changes intended to cripple his son-in-law's enterprise, but God had intervened by blocking the intended hurt and overriding the wage changes with great prosperity. It spoke later on about, in 31, for the angel of God, the same as the angel of the Lord, as was referred to earlier. And you'll notice there's some instances where it'll give you different examples of where that would be also. I am the God of Bethel. The angel of God clearly identified himself as the Lord, pointing back as he did so to earlier critical encounter with God in Jacob's life. It shows another set here where it was talking about the household idols. So pagans had several gods that they would worship. Now, it doesn't say in here why Rachel went back in to take the idols with her. But it says household idols. Teraphim is how it's pronounced, is the literary word. There's a couple other examples in 2 Kings and Ezekiel where they use this also. These images are figurines of varying sizes, usually from nude goddesses with accentuated sexual features, either signal special protection for inheritance rights for or guaranteed fertility for the bearer, or perhaps possession by Rachel would call for Jacob to be recognized as head of the household at Laban's death. Jacob leaving out, says Jacob deceived Laban because of the fear of what Laban might do. Jacob dispensed with the expected courtesy. He had not forgotten before, where he was evidently seemed like he was carrying a grudge for everything that had been happening, where he had been lied to multiple times and his wages were changed. Says in clandestine, slipped away at the appropriate time with all his entourage. This was not a simple exit. If you start thinking about all the flocks that he has, tents that he has, it would be very difficult to just sneak away. That also probably shows about the size of the area as well, because you would notice if it was close by, if somebody was bringing their flocks together. We're talking about flocks of hundreds, hundreds of sheep, hundreds of goats, hundreds of rams. These are all flocks that are large. So these flocks would have been not easily moved. Plus all their tents and everything they had, they wouldn't have snuck away well. So this had to be a vast area. They weren't living like right butted up next to each other. It talks about the Euphrates River and the hill country of Galilee, the area of South Galilee to the east of the Jordan River, respectively, is where that is. 7 days journey, that it took so long for Laban's band to catch up with A much larger group burdened with possessions and animals indicates a forced march was undertaken by Jacob's people, probably motivated by Jacob's fear. So Jacob was probably really motivating everybody to hurry up and get out of there. In 24, it says, "Be careful, either good or bad." Kind of makes you wonder why Laban would have said anything to him at all. When God says, "Be careful whether you say anything good or bad." God again sovereignly protected, and he had done for Abraham and Isaac to prevent harm coming from his man. In the proverbial expression, Laban is cautioned not to use anything in a full range of options open to him, from the good to the bad, to alter the existing situation and bring Jacob back. And then it gets down later on in the text. Why did you steal my gods? Longing to return to Canaan might excuse his leaving without notice, but it could not excuse the theft of his teraphim. Laban thoroughly searched for these idols, also marked how important they were to him as a pagan worshiper. And then, so it just kind of breaks down that they had made their pact, decide between us two. Rachel's theft and dishonest cover-up had precipitated a major conflict between her father and her husband, which could only be resolved by judicial inquiry before a witness. So that's why they had to make a pact between each other. And that sums up chapter 31. Hope to see you back here for chapter 32.